My pleasure. Thank you so much and welcome everybody. And I'm going to be talking today about how to build your divorce team and how to use them. So as Maggie said, I am a matrimonial attorney. I handle prenuptial agreements, postnuptial agreements. Don't leave the workforce without a postnuptial agreement, settlement agreements. I'm a mediator, and I'm also a divorce attorney. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. And the reason that I said you need to have a team is because I can't do it all. So let me start my presentation. So as mentioned, I'm Carolyn Walsh Parry. My firm is Law Office of Carolyn Parry. I'm sitting in the Woolworth building right now, but I'm going to be moving to 40th and Madison next week, which is very exciting. I've taken on a partner who is going to be handling assisted reproductive technology law, which is paid surrogate contracts, fighting with fertility clinics, that kind of fun stuff. But again, let's go back to divorce or separation too. Okay, so there are a lot of people that you need in your team. When you're going through a divorce, it's one of the most traumatic events that you can go through, whether you are the one that's leaving, whether you are the one that's being left. It's a massive life change, and it's not something that you should go through alone. And there are a lot of other people that you need other than your divorce attorney. And let's see why. Okay, so as your lawyer, there are a lot of things that I can do for you. I can tell you what a court might do. I can figure out the child support or spousal support or equitable distribution calculations. I can tell you based on my experience what probably will happen, what won't happen, and I can really help you make educated choices about the process that you're going through. Whether it's just a separation, whether it's a mediation, you need to understand what your rights are and what you can and cannot get. You know, I can help you determine, should it be mediated? Should you go to court? Stuff like that. But there are a lot of things that I can't help you with, and that's where really having a team comes into play. So there are other professional people that should be on your team. So for instance, a divorce coach. It is unethical of me to answer the question, well, what do you think? Should I get a divorce or not? And I have been asked that, and you know, of course I'd say, yes, you should, because then I'll make money, or one of my colleagues will make money. So it's really unethical for any attorney to tell you, yes, you should get a divorce. That's something that you have to figure out on your own. And a divorce coach can help you with that, help you do the pro-con list, and then help you go forward, help you ask, determine, you know, which attorney is right for you, which questions you should be asking. A life coach. Again, somebody who's proactive, somebody that is telling you, you know, what do I do now that I'm not married, now that I'm in a different state in my life, where do I go from here? Again, I really can't answer that for you. It's not my job. I'm not trained at it. I'm not qualified to do that. A career coach. There are a lot of career coaches that specialize in people who are transitioning back into the workforce after having been out of the workforce, maybe to stay home, to care for children, or maybe to support someone else's career if it involved travel. And there are people that can help someone get back into the workforce. Also help someone sort of maybe understand what would be a realistic job, what would be a realistic income level, what's the training that somebody needs to get back into the workforce. And again, that's not something that I can help you with. I have referrals for everybody, for, you know, all of these different types of professions, but it's not something that I can do for you. Now, a career coach, a life coach, a divorce coach are all sort of pushing forward and looking forward. A therapist is someone who looks back and says, how did we get here to begin with? Many clients do treat me like a therapist, which I understand. I actually got my BA in psychology. So, and when I was in college, I thought, do I want to be a therapist or a lawyer? And now I'm a little bit of both. But it's obviously, I'm not qualified to do that. And insurance doesn't pay for my time. So if you've never been in therapy before, Going through a divorce is a great time to get into therapy to figure out, how did we get here? Now, some personal roles that I can't, some other professional roles that I cannot assist you in. I am legally not allowed to give you tax information. I'm prohibited from doing that. So you should have your own CPA. You are now, once you have left a marriage, you are now in a different tax bracket. You may be in a different tax bracket with respect to income levels. Maybe you're filing head of household, maybe you're filing single. I think that you should have your own new CPA. You shouldn't have the person who, your partner, your husband, or whoever hired and is using. I think that it should be separated out, and somebody who's really just working for you. A new financial advisor. If you're leaving a marriage and the financial advisor that you had was part of like a private wealth person, and your spouse was sort of the valued customer, you don't want to be in that position. I really think that you should have your own financial advisor, because it's now your money. And before you were investing together and you had a certain goal together, and now these are your goals and your goals alone, and you should decide what to do with that money. A trust and estate lawyer. I don't handle that type of work, but you should absolutely, whether you're entering into a marriage or exiting one, you should absolutely talk to a trust and estate attorney. You should have a new will. You should absolutely have a new healthcare proxy. You don't want your ex being the one who makes medical decisions for you. Any powers of attorney that were done should all be revoked, and you should give someone else new powers of attorney. This became very important during COVID when people were on ventilators and couldn't speak for themselves. Those powers of attorney became very important. And as I said, you can have a situation where you don't change your will, and now your ex-spouse or soon-to-be ex-spouse is the only one that you left everything to, and that's certainly not something that you want. And an insurance broker, when there is a final judgment of divorce, you are not legally allowed to be on your spouse's employer provided insurance. So you'll need an insurance broker to get your own health insurance if need be. And so, as I said, now the personal roles. Again, you are going through a divorce is very much like going through a death. And if you were burying a spouse, you would fully accept the love and support of your family. You wouldn't feel shame about it. You would feel, comforted that these people care about you. And so you should absolutely do that here. There's also something weird about divorce where people get like a little afraid of you. Like, I don't want it to touch me. What if, then I get divorced because of by association. So there can be some toxicity and change in friendships. I know that when I went through it, some people became much more supportive, and some people got weird, and that friendship stopped. So then those weren't really the friends that I needed. And your best friend is a really important part of your team, because as much as I want to hear that your ex is a cheating, lying piece of blah, that's not really my job. I would love to sit there and share a bottle of Chardonnay with you and tell you, how you're better off without him. But again, that's not really my job. That is for your best friend. And definitely use that person. And get that out of your system, because it is important to vent. It is important to get the crap out, because you're going through something, whether it's you're feeling feelings of guilt because you're the one that's leaving, whether you're feeling anger, whatever it is, you need to get those feelings out so they don't cloud your judgment when you are actually talking to your attorney and trying to figure out a settlement and trying to figure out legal strategy. You don't want your legal strategy to be based on emotion. So that is where your best friend is gonna really help with that. So that's my little presentation. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Carolyn. That was great. We will open it up for Q&A. So if you have a question, you can use the Q&A section or you can use the chat box. And I did see that we had a question come in that's asking what to do if you can't afford a divorce lawyer comparable to the one your soon-to-be ex will have.
Okay, so that actually should not happen because statutorily, the moneyed spouse has to pay for the attorney's fees for the non-moneyed spouse. So therefore, again, yeah, that should not be that shouldn't be that should not be an equation. You can hire a less expensive attorney to then seek legal fees. You can go to the same level of expensive attorney as your ex and tell them what the situation is, and that attorney will probably immediately go and see what's called interim legal fees from your spouse. That's statutorily that we have I guess laws to prevent that.
Okay, great, thank you. Another question here. Do you recommend gray rock, or is it okay to communicate with your soon-to-be ex?
Okay, I've never heard this expression gray rock. It's absolutely okay to communicate with your soon-to-be ex. I mean, I tell my clients all the time, listen, cut the middleman out. You know, if you and your ex can work things out together, you know, you're paying less in legal fees and you're making it more amicable. I mean, you know, keep in mind that if there are children involved, that is till death do you part. Not married. You can get married, you know, 5 different times, but if you have children together, you are still a family, and so you want to keep things as amicable as possible, you know, and if possible. So if you can communicate together, so for instance, like the children's schedule, I sort of help my clients with that. But really, I'll say if you two can sit down with a calendar and figure out the vacations and stuff like that together, I mean, I can do it, but it's more personal to you. Okay, I'm looking. Can your lawyer accompany you to a mediation? So one of the things that I do is I provide, I guess, like I'm the background counselor to someone who's in mediation. And I like doing that because sometimes okay, let me just start. When you get a mediator, you know, the mediator is no one's advocate. The mediator is really just an advocate for a good settlement or a settlement, good, bad, whatever, just a settlement. So once you're done with the mediator will advise both parties to get their own attorney to review that agreement before signing it. So, and I've done that. And once, you know, I get that, I'm actually working on one now. And once you get that agreement and it's already, you know, they've been in mediation for months and they've worked out, you know, an agreement, it's really hard to change it. So I have an agreement now that I really don't love. And it's, you know, it's becoming very, very difficult to try to change it because I'm representing the wife, the husband is very fixated on, this is what our deal is. We had a deal. It's like, no, you didn't, it's not a deal until the ink is dry. So you can have somebody who consults with you while you're in the process of mediation, you know, prepping you beforehand, debriefing with you afterwards. You are a financial advisor. Do you recommend that you reach out to divorce attorneys? Yeah, although I get hit on by financial advisors a lot, but it's certainly, if you are going to reach out to divorce attorneys, specialize yourself in some way. Like, are you somebody that works with women in transition, and why do you do that? Gray rock means zero communication. No, if you can communicate together, you should. I don't see why not. Let's see.
Do you need help with some of these next questions, Carolyn? I see we had a lot come in. Do you want me to read some for you?
We're in the question and answer, or are they in the chat?
Both. So I can, let me know if you want me to read you the next one.
Okay, you go ahead. I'll let you do that.
Okay, I see one here that's asking, what's the best way to have an enforceable NDA?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I actually am doing that right now. I'm representing someone who had an affair and had a child. with his mistress, and she, we had her sign an NDA, and she's not, she's not abiding by it. She's told the wife everything. If somebody has money, I mean, here's the thing: somebody has to have something to lose in order to enforce that NDA. I mean, you can enforce it, but what will you get out of it? If somebody has money, if somebody has, what is it that somebody will lose? So in order to have a good, forget enforceable. I mean, all agreements are enforceable, but the question is, is the what if. So if you don't abide by the non-disclosure agreement, what will happen? What are the consequences of that? So that's a hard one. If somebody has money, then you can impose financial consequences if they don't abide by that.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Best place to find a mediator. I don't have a great answer to that. I do know that one of the things that you should look for in a mediator is somebody who is an attorney or maybe has a psychology background. So there are a lot of people who don't have either. Maybe just had a bad divorce and feel like they want to help people, which is great. If somebody is a lawyer and a mediator, then they're actually allowed to draft the settlement agreement. If they're not a lawyer, then they're actually not allowed to draft it. What they will do is you will have what's called a term sheet, and it will just be the different things that you and your partner agreed to. And then the lawyer that you hire will then have to draft the agreement. Somebody who has a psychology background is also kind of helpful because they can sort of get to the root of why. But let me just say this about mediation. I don't like mediation unless there's really an equality in the relationship. Because if you have somebody that's a bully in the home, they're going to be a bully in the mediation room. If somebody has a lot more money, that creates power shift. If somebody is a lot more emotional, angry, guilty, can't focus, that creates a power dynamic too. So it seems to me that a mediator is really only great when there's a real balance there. Otherwise, once you have an imbalance, I don't love mediation, for everybody. And just because you have an attorney doesn't mean that you're litigating. You want to find an attorney who's listening to you and is willing to try to settle this case with the other attorney. And that's what your spouse has to get an attorney also that's willing to settle, to listen, and to try to work it out, as opposed to being litigation hungry. So that can be difficult.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. See another question here about receiving a settlement from my mom's life insurance. Would I be expected to pay for my own attorney fees?
So the life insurance is separate property. So it would be your separate property. I mean, I guess it depends on how much we're talking about. I mean, you're not supposed to be, again, there's case law that says you're not supposed to exhaust your savings to fight a divorce if you have a much more moneyed spouse. So, I guess that depends. I mean, if you've inherited millions, yeah, okay, maybe now you're in a very different financial bracket, but not necessarily. It depends, I guess, would be my answer.
Okay, thank you.
If there is an imbalance, what do you recommend instead of mediation? I recommend that each party get their own attorney. If there's an imbalance, then I think that you need an advocate, and a mediator is nobody's advocate.
Okay. See, we have another question that's asking for your opinion of collaborative divorce if it's not a contentious separation.
Sure. So for those who don't know, collaborative is where both attorneys agree that they will settle that case, and if for some reason it goes to litigation, both attorneys will leave the case, and the parties will get new attorneys. I mean, I feel like that's my attitude going into all of my cases, is that I'm going to settle it. So, I would rather that the attorney that both people hire has that attitude. We're going to settle this. There's no reason that that we should be fighting. There's never a reason to fight. Everybody can compromise and agree on something, unless, but here's the problem, if you have somebody that is just will not listen to reason, that will not sit down to the negotiation table, or won't sit down to the negotiation table with clean hands and full honesty and full transparency, then you need court intervention. So as I said, I am settlement focused. My intention is to settle every case, but there are times that I really need the assistance of the court. Sometimes it's one conference, with a judge to get people back on track and getting them to focus and getting them, back into settlement mode.
Okay, thank you. Carolyn, another question for you says an ex has a nasty, shrewd attorney who lies and gets court to rule on lie. My attorney is ethical. Should I lawyer up to a killer attorney to fight? There's a lot of money at stake. I'm in a 50-50 state.
Okay, so that's interesting. I had a case like that where I had a just an awful attorney on the other side. I mean, like, I don't know how this person sleeps at night. So I've had different experiences like that, because there are some really ugly people out there. So you really want to do your due diligence when hiring an attorney and do lots of interviews, so that and ask and ask your friends and whatnot. When you hear words like bulldog and pit bull and aggressive and take them to the cleaners or whatever, then you know that person is overly aggressive. And my opinion is that the overly aggressive attorneys do not get more than the ethical attorneys. They really don't. They cost a lot more money. They take a lot more time. And in the end, they maybe get a little bit more, but not a lot more. If you have an attorney that is on the other side that is just being so awful, you have two choices. On the one hand, your ethical attorney can kind of keep blocking this person from trying to like ramp it up, and that's, I've absolutely been in that position where I've had to sort of be like the motion blocker, the conference blocker, just tampering it down, because, this other person was taking a pretty amicable divorce and turning it into something that it wasn't. And then I had a situation where there was an attorney who I knew about, who everybody in my industry hates. I mean, this guy is just slimy. And I had a case, and I said, this case deserves this guy. So I actually did have my client, fire me and hire this other person, because this other attorney really did kind of need a taste of their own medicine, because it just was not, the judge was not doing anything. It was just going nowhere. And my client felt like that kind of behavior on the other side was winning, even though it wasn't. So I guess there's two ways you can go with that.
All right. Thank you for that.
But let me just add, you can always go and get a second opinion. You can always go to another attorney and say, I want a consultation. I'm going to pay for a few hours of your time, and go over your case with this other attorney. And this other attorney who you think may be lawyering up might say, I think that your attorney's doing a perfectly good job. There's nothing that I would change. Maybe I would do this, that, whatever, but basically they're doing fine. So it can't hurt to do that, just to help your confidence level in your attorney.
Yes, very true. Okay. All right. I see we have a few more questions for you. The next one is asking, what do you think about divorce loans versus a regular personal loan? I have a reluctant soon-to-be husband, and I'm going into debt paying for 2 houses and the kids, but have equity in the house that will eventually be sold at the end.
Yeah, I know that this is a new thing, or maybe not such a new thing, where you can get a loan to tide you over. I mean, it, again, it's if somebody is, it's a way that somebody can hold you hostage, right? By not agreeing to the divorce, by not moving quickly, by not moving smoothly, and sort of putting you in a bind, and kind of creating like a power dynamic over you. Like, I know that you're bleeding money, and I'm going to just sit here and make you do that. So a loan might help balance things out. It's like, well, I have a loan, I can wait it out too, and I'm not going to be held hostage by these other debts that are hanging over me because I now have a loan to deal with this divorce. So, I think it can be a good idea.
Okay, thank you. Another question asking if my husband put me on an inherited account and now the account is a joint account, am I entitled to half of that money?
That's an interesting question. So in other words, he inherited money, which was separate. So it was separate property when he inherited it, and then he put it into a joint account. So what he's done effectively is commingled it, and possibly transmuted it. Those are the words that we use. Separate property is separate unless you do something like commingle it, like put it into a jointly held asset, and that transmutes it into marital property. I mean, he will certainly claim that it was separate property, and you or your attorney would have a good claim that he commingled it and therefore it destroyed its separate property nature. But I expect him to make a separate property claim.
Okay. A question here is asking, what's the law that states one should not exhaust savings to pay for divorce?
It's in the domestic relations law. It's so we have the statutes, and then we have it's cases that say that you don't have to exhaust your savings in order to pay for a divorce. So it would be, as I said, the domestic relations law in New York, if you are in New York, and then case law that states you don't have to exhaust your savings.
Okay, thank you for clarifying that. And a follow-up question that was mentioned earlier, an NDA, asking if you can what's an NDA, if you can just explain that.
Sure, an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. So sometimes if you're divorcing somebody that owns a company or owns something, whatever it is, it's stating that whatever is in your agreement is confidential and you're not allowed to disclose it. Usually there's a financial consequence for disclosing information that was in the agreement. So pretty much like every celebrity, pretty much has an NDA in their contract saying that they can't disclose how much they're giving.
Okay, thanks for.
Not everybody needs it. I mean, unless you're divorcing somebody who has proprietary information, or again, there would have to be some reason why you would need a non-disclosure. But if there's a non-disclosure, go ahead. I mean, it's not a big deal. I mean, why would you want to disclose what's in your personal agreement anyway?
Okay. Here's another question asking if divorce attorneys charge for an initial consultation. We aren't directly discussing divorce yet, but I know he's thinking about it. I suspect he may be starting to hide money. Should I hire a divorce financial advisor or just wait till we actually get to talking divorce?
All right. So some attorneys do charge a consultation fee, and then they'll apply it, I guess, towards if you retain them. By the way, I should mention that for anybody who has attended this event, I'm happy to give a free 30-minute consultation. I'll put up my, I guess I should put up my contact information again. So it depends. It depends on the attorney if they want to charge a consultation fee. If you suspect that your spouse is hiding money, money really can't be hidden. I mean, it leaves a trace. So if you really think that someone is hiding money, what you may need is a forensic accountant to find that money. A certified divorce financial planner, that's someone I probably should have put up on my screen. They are incredibly helpful. They really help you. They're really more about creating a budget for you and what are your expenses and how much will you need from the divorce in order to live your current lifestyle. How much will you need until you start getting Medicare. How much will you need to pay for health insurance? They're more about helping you kind of straighten out the finances, and figure out the finances for yourself and figure out what you need. And they are incredibly helpful.
Great. Thank you. Thank you for that. A few more questions for you, Carolyn.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Hit me with them.
The next one says the judge ordered my husband to pay for the mortgage since he's not paying child or spousal support, but he has reneged and it's ruining my credit. And there is now a lien. So can I do anything? Can I do anything about that?
Well, yes. I mean, if you have a judge involved in this case, I'm assuming you have an attorney as well. But yes, you can get before the judge and bring a contempt motion against your husband that he has to pay that mortgage. Maybe what you need to do is have his wages garnished, have his bank accounts garnished. Those are things that a judge can do as a remedy when someone refuses to pay.
Great, thank you. Follow up to the other question before asking what was that profession, certified divorce financial planner?
Yes, certified divorce financial planner. And you can find those through, oh Maggie, what is it called? It's the National Association of Divorce Professionals, right? I think that's National Association of Divorce Professionals has attorneys and whatnot in it. But yes, a certified divorce financial planner. And they, as you said, they will help you kind of, in every divorce, we have to do something called a net worth statement. And that's where you really write down every single little expense that you have, every single liability, every single asset, every single thing. And you from that, you figure out how much am I asking for in a settlement? What's my monthly nut? What do I need? How many assets what kind of assets do I have? Do I have enough in retirement, to last me through age, whatever. So, I mean, that's something that you'll do with an attorney, but you can certainly do it with a certified divorce financial planner. And I believe that their rates are cheaper, less expensive than an attorney. And I'm very happy when I get someone who says, oh, I've worked with the certified divorce financial planner and we've already done my net worth statement. Great. I mean, it's less billing for me, but that's certainly okay because they've done it and they've gotten a real education in their finances and where they stand and what they're going to need. So that's, I call that person an educated consumer.
Great. Okay, I see we have 3 more questions for you,
I'm
Carolyn.
okay. I'm good. I love doing this. So
Great.
It's fun.
Okay, so this one says custody hasn't been determined yet because my ex won't pay his portion of the court-ordered therapist bill.
Mm-hmm.
My lawyer said he has to deal with custody first. So is that correct? Or can we also deal with the finances at the same time?
I know courts like to deal with custody first because in New York, the matrimonial judges only try custody cases. They don't try financial cases. So, like if you've settled custody, then your case goes to what's called a JHO, a judicial hearing officer, to then do a financial trial if need be. But again, this is something that your attorney certainly can bring to the attention of the judge. Because certainly you have an order here, you have something that was supposed to have been done, and this is holding up the custody determination. So maybe the finances, have to be done first as on an interim or as a temporary basis in order to get you to the point of settling custody and then getting to the financials.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Here's a question asking if you're responsible for car loan since we have separate cars.
Is it pre-divorce or after? I mean, if it's, let's say it's during the marriage and both parties have a car and a car loan, then that's part of the family expenses that both parties have to have a car. And if that was part of the monthly expenses, each spouse's car loan, then yes, that would be that would be someone's responsible expense. Otherwise, if it's post-divorce, then it's something that you need to calculate as to what your monthly expenses are. And you need to think about that when you're asking for spousal support, that you need to include the car loan expenses.
Okay, and I see a follow-up just came in that says he's the only one with a car loan and he will take the car after the divorce.
So then if he's acquiring that asset, then paying for that asset is his responsibility.
Okay.
I mean, I guess I'm not really sure. I guess I'm a little confused on the question, but if he has a car loan, well, if let's say, two people are married, there are two cars, there's only one car loan, then that's part of the family expenses. Once the couple has split up, that car that car is someone else's responsibility, and it's their responsibility to pay that car loan. So yes, that would be his responsibility.
Okay, thank you. Here's another question that says, I'm becoming a divorce coach. I'm developing a business and would like to hear what you think women need from a divorce coach. I have ideas based on my recent divorce, but would love to hear your thoughts.
So what I think women need from a divorce coach is, first of all, they need education, they need answers. Before they're coming to a divorce attorney, they may start with a coach. So they need to really understand, what their rights are. You need to, I don't know what state you're in, but every state has a standardized formula for child support and spousal support. So at least if you can figure out what the baseline would be, when I figure that out for people, normally the income is way over what the cap is. So, I'll say, well, these are the different ranges of what you could expect to receive from a court. We're not saying you have to pick that because or you have to settle for that, because we would, look at what other assets are there. So an education, I guess you probably get yourself as educated as you can about the numbers, because that's always a big question. Custody rights, that's another huge topic. And then an action plan. What is it that somebody needs to do going forward? So what type of attorney do they want? Help them sort of figure that out. And then therefore, what types of questions to ask when they're interviewing attorneys, to see what are the buzzwords that they want to hear when picking an attorney. And then sort of like, in some ways, a divorce coach is like an accountability coach, because it can be emotional and someone doesn't want to do it. So you have to kind of keep them on track. Okay, did you interview 3 attorneys this week? Did you start working on your net worth statement? Did you start gathering your credit card statements to figure out what you should put in your net worth statement? Did you do, it should be like that, like you're on top of them, keeping them moving forward. Because it's very easy to get stuck, in the emotions of this.
Yes. Okay. Thanks for sharing that, Carolyn. Another question here is asking, what advice would you give to a person that wants to divorce but not ready to do so yet? Are there ways to prepare, particularly financially, for an eventual divorce?
Sure. Well, again, going to a divorce coach to talk to someone about, what are the steps that I'll take? What will it look like? Going into therapy. How come I'm not ready to leave now? Why am I thinking about leaving? What's holding me back from leaving? Or what's holding me back from repairing the relationship? Those are great ways to prepare yourself for the whole, mentally for it. Financially, again, you can't hide money, but you can start establishing your own credit. Maybe put some utility bills in your name, maybe a credit card that's just in your name if everything is a joint thing. It's very easy to not have credit in your own name when you have your own credit. What am I trying to say? Not credit score, but I can't think of the word that I'm looking for. But it's surprising when you go and go, wow, my credit is based on another person. You feel like you're not really an adult. So that's something that you can start working on. Do you need to get back into the workforce? You know, don't listen to somebody who says, "Oh no, stay out of work so that he'll have to give you more money." That is bad advice. So maybe start working with a career coach now. Start job training. Maybe go back to school. It's certainly a lot easier to go back to school and to do that when you're married. You have you know, someone else helping to pay the rent and the food, and manage childcare. Other things that you can do. I can't think of anything right now. I'm sure, you know, 5 minutes after this ends, I'll go, oh, and another thing.
Right, it always works that way.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Well, here's another question for you that is saying, I'm separated and have a special needs daughter who is 24 years old who lives with me. Would supporting her be included in my net worth statement? I've read where it costs approximately $17,000 to support an adult child with special needs who lives with you.
Yes, you should definitely include those expenses. Yeah, that's a hard one because, you know, in New York, child support ends at age 21 or 22 if they're still in college. So, you know, you're not required to give child support for a child that's over 22, but when you have special needs, that's a whole different issue. So I would absolutely include those. What, you know, there are many different factors as to why someone should receive spousal support and for how long. And one of those circumstances where somebody should receive is when you have a special needs child that you need to care for.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thanks, Carolyn. A question came in. Are there taxes on a settlement?
Well, again, I'm not allowed to give tax advice, but transfers between spouses should be a non-taxable event. So again, you have to specify as to exactly what that settlement is. So for instance, if let's say you have a Chase savings account and it's got $100,000 in it, and you get 50 and he gets 50. No, I don't think you're paying tax on the 50. If you're selling a home, that may have a tax occurrence to it. So it depends on specifically what the settlement is. One of the things that we do, so for instance, if you're splitting a retirement account, there's what's an instrument called a quadro, a qualified sorry, I'm brain fuzzy today. Anyway, it's an order that allows you to split up a retirement account. So there's no tax consequence on that, because normally you can't take anything out of your 401k or IRA or whatever without incurring some sort of penalties, and a quadro allows you not to do that. QDRO, Qualified Domestic Relations Order. There we go. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Carolyn. All right, so last question for you here says, I make very little money, so I've had to sell stocks in order to pay for my attorney, forensic accountant / court appointed therapist, and to pay for me and my child, since my husband isn't giving us a cent in child or spousal support. But do those capital gains work against me because it looks like I have significant income when it's really a one-time stock sale? My husband owns a very small company and he's claiming poverty, so I wonder if I'm going to have to pay him child and spousal support since he's claiming zero income, no savings, and he's sold all of his 401ks.
Okay, well, so that's got a lot of components.
Yes, I can repeat it if needed.
Yeah, well, no. So first of all, if he's saying he has zero money. So whenever anybody has their own business, that's always a big red flag, because there's, you know, many ways to hide money when you have your own business. So that's something for a forensic accountant. If he sold those 401ks, if any portion of those 401ks were marital, then you are entitled to a credit for that. You're also, I'm assuming, you know, you have an attorney who's put in a claim for retroactive child support, or is, going to seek interest on monies that should have been paid and have not been paid. I would probably claim the capital gains taxes as a debt that was incurred because of the litigation, a debt that needs to be repaid. So yeah, that's as I said, there's a lot going on in that one question. Not all of which I can answer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, with that, I want to just check that if anyone has follow-up questions, they can reach out to you, and we'll be sure to send via email your contact information. But did you mention also a free consultation? Is that correct?
Yep, I'm happy to give anybody a free 30-minute consultation. You have my email address. Let's see. I see just if I have one child, well, in one child, how do I calculate child support for one child? Again, that's a formula, and there you can easily find that online. It's 17% in New York of a combined income. If I don't have my child on Mother's Day, can I assume I'm allowed? Don't assume that, but normally we give mom gets the child on Mother's Day and dad gets the child on Father's Day.
Okay, great. Thank you for clarifying that. Okay, I see a message here. Thank you for this wonderful perspective and insight on what's needed for people going through divorce or pondering it. So I want to thank you, Carolyn, for answering all of our questions today.
I hope I've been helpful to somebody. I really do.
Yes. Thank you for a great session that just came in. Many thanks. Huge thanks. Thank you so much, Carolyn. And I want to thank everyone for joining us today and asking lots of great questions. We will be sending a follow-up email with Carolyn's contact information if you'd like to reach out to her. Thank you. Thank you so much, Carolyn. It was excellent.
Thank you very much. Take care, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye.